To general session, July 18, 2017. Commissioner O'Grady is on his way and will join us shortly. And we're going to get started with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Boyce.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We need the approval of the minutes of June 1, June 8, 2017 briefing session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
The minutes have been approved.
Okay, the Sheriff's Department.
Resolution number 506-17. Resolution authorizing a contract renewal with Relias Learning, LLC for online training services for the Franklin County Sheriff's Office Corrections and Law Enforcement personnel in the amount of $49,500.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dave Masterson, Director of Administrative Services for Sheriff Baldwin. This resolution is a one-year contract renewal with Elias Learning, which will allow us to supplement training throughout the office for subjects such as minimum jail standards, PREA, and gang associations, amongst many other corrections and law enforcement related courses. Pending any questions, I ask approval of this resolution.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 506-17 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Purchasing. Oh, Human Resources. Sorry, I wouldn't skip you.
I'm really getting concerned.
Resolution number 507-17, resolution approving the purchase of cybersecurity insurance in the amount of $200,000.
This one's important.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rob Young, representing Human Resources.
Adam Lukow, on behalf of HR and Benefits and Risk Management. This resolution will approve the purchase of cybersecurity insurance for Franklin County. This coverage is based on a competitive selection process by Willis Towers Watson on behalf of Franklin County. This will align the county with best practices and will cover all Franklin County agencies, boards, and courts under the Board of Commissioners authority. Budgetary authority, that is. Pending any questions, I recommend your approval of this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, move for passage of Resolution 507-17.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 507-17 has been adopted. Resolution number 508-17.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Resolution approving personnel actions.
Yeah, we have two personnel actions this week, Job and Family Services, one suspension, and Human Resources, one suspension. Pending any questions, request approval of the resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, move for passage of 508-17.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 508-17 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Now we get to Carl in purchasing.
Resolution number 509-17, resolution approving purchases for various Franklin County agencies in the amount of $1,124,242.38.
Morning, Commissioners. Carl Cuse, representing the Purchasing Department. The resolution before you requests your approval of the 80 purchase orders. These purchase orders have been pre-certified as availability funds by the County Auditor. Pending any questions, I recommend their approval.
If there are no comments or questions, move for passage of 509-17.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 509-17 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board of Commissioners.
Resolution number 510-17, resolution establishing the Franklin County Correction Center Construction Inclusion Plan.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chris Long, Deputy Administrator.
Keena Smith, Deputy Administrator.
Commissioners, as you know, we're in the process of constructing a new correctional facility, and through prior resolutions, the Board has expressed its commitment to ensuring equal access to both the supplier and the construction process. This resolution contains a construction inclusion plan that establishes a construction inclusion team to provide the Commissioners with facilitated tracking and monitoring of various efforts. And my colleague is here to talk about further details of that proposed inclusion plan.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
The Construction Inclusion Plan sets forth a framework for creating opportunity and jobs for all our residents in the building of the new Correction Center. It is an accountability plan that frames our intent of performing extensive outreach, acquiring and supporting labor participation in pipeline development, as well as utilizing local small and emerging businesses. It expresses our intent to reach out to diverse community organizations to assist us in achieving our goals. The plan also describes how we will work with our partners, owners, REP, Pizzuti Solutions, our contract management firm, Gilbane Smoot, the construction trades who have already signed a workforce MOU, and others in our community to track, monitor, and report our progress and participation and utilization for the duration of the project through the creation, as my colleague mentioned, of the formal construction inclusion team. This inclusion team will also be supported in this effort by the purchase of new software to help us track and monitor labor participation. We'd like to thank those who helped us develop this strategic document, including Pizzuti Solutions, Gilbane Smoot, Franklin County staff of Public Facilities Management, Purchasing, and Small and Emerging Businesses, and of course the leadership of my colleague, Deputy Chris Long. Pending any questions, we ask for passage.
I know that this has been a long time in coming, and I know we've got some speakers here who wish to address us.
I've got a couple questions. Should I ask, or what? Should we wait to let the speaker go? I'd rather ask first.
Yeah,
That's okay.
why don't
Yeah,
you do
thank
that?
You. So, Director Smith, can you talk a little bit about who else was a part of the development of the plan? I know that there were a lot of meetings with some of our external partners, and can you talk about that process and the conversations that took place and the feedback we've got, and most importantly, how we were able to utilize that feedback? Because it's one thing to have a meeting and hear feedback; it's another thing to actually take it and implement it into the plan. And so I'm interested in that process, and if we were able to take some of the suggestions and recommendations or parts of the conversation and incorporate them, or if there's still work to be done here.
Absolutely. So a couple of things. One is I think it's important to understand that the document is a framework for our intention. It's not very prescriptive in various parts of the document for that very reason, because we are looking to gather more community input on exactly how we will operationalize it, if you will. For instance, on labor participation, we had several conversations with external individuals who indicated that there are many groups and organizations who are training underrepresented residents and preparing them for work in skilled trades. And so we want to make sure that we are inclusive of those folks in how we actually reach out, how we process apprenticeships, how we make our opportunity available. And so in a couple of weeks, we will be having a large meeting with community stakeholders. For instance, I had a conversation with Terrell Mock, who trains young men in the skilled trades. I had a conversation with Mr. Dan Moncrief to talk about union contracting and what it means to be a union, in light of our MOU, what it means to be a union contractor. And so based on those conversations, we also had a conversation with members, and some who are here in the audience today, with our NAACP organization, who came to share with us some thoughts that they had on our MOU, but we had a wide-ranging conversation about some of their concerns going forward in the process as it pertains to inclusion. So we used some of that information in our plan to ensure that we are doing extensive outreach and inclusion, and that we're being held accountable for that. And that's what this document does, is set forth that framework, so that when we come back to the commissioners and when we sit in the construction inclusion team, we are able to make sure that we're getting that data. That's been a major point of concern, to make sure that we are gathering the data so that we can actually see our progress and track our progress, and then also remedy any shortcomings that we may have to the best of our ability.
Thank you. That's helpful in understanding the process. You also use this word several times: evaluate, collect data, and so forth. And I think that's probably the most important part of this conversation. And so as we collect data and then use the term evaluate, A, who's evaluating it? B, who on our administrative staff will be sort of overseeing this work, so that we can ensure that it doesn't just get evaluated and then sits on a report on somebody's desk somewhere, that we actually get to see it and we get to engage in conversation about it, improve it for the next time we do a major project. And so I just kind of want to establish a line of accountability, because it is great to have a framework and a plan, but that's, framework and a plan is only one part of it. You've got to follow through, you've got to evaluate, we've got to be informed about how it worked, if it didn't work, if we're making progress in certain areas. So in detail, can you tell me, A, who's responsible on our staff in terms of really tracking this, and then making sure that the commissioners have that information, and then most importantly, who's going to follow through on it going forward, as we want to make sure that what we learn from this process, we're able to improve in the next process?
Okay, sure. So based on our conversations that we had, we thought it was important that we, as I mentioned, we're purchasing software that will help us in tracking the labor participation especially. So that was a major concern in some of the conversations that we had, that somehow it leaks, or you're unable to really hold folks accountable, if you will, for efforts and results. So we included in our plan a process for that monitoring. The construction inclusion team will receive that data on a monthly basis from our construction management team of the joint venture of Gilbane Smoot. Contractors themselves will input data into a piece of software. It's a software as a service that's called LCP Tracker. They will enter their labor participation rates on a monthly basis. We will get reports from the construction management team, those of us who will sit on the construction inclusion team, which will include our Franklin County administrator, our Franklin County deputy administrators, Pizzuti Solutions, Gilbane Smoot, representative from the construction trades, and we've also left room for community members to sit on that panel as well.
Okay.
Once we receive that information, we will be reporting that to you on a monthly basis. It will be your choice as to whether we do that formally in a setting such as this, or if you hold that information yourselves and report it yourselves. You will have that option, obviously, about how you wish to report that information to the community. This is our first time engaging in this way.
In a formal way.
In a formal
Yes.
way, absolutely.
And
Go ahead, please.
I would just say, and I don't mean to interrupt, and yet I am, to go with what Commissioner Boyce said, as it is our first time formally tracking this information, is there room during the process of building this major project and during the time of this major construction project, if we see we're not making the progress we want to make, to make changes in how we're doing the outreach, that's a possibility.
Absolutely.
And I would hope that we're going to make those changes that are necessary throughout the process so that we end up where we really would like to be, which is major inclusion of our local community in the project.
Yes. And Commissioner, that's why we didn't want to be prescriptive inside this document, because we want to hear from the community. We want to understand strategies. I mean, they have plenty of lessons learned, and so we want to be able to include that and hear those voices from diverse audiences all around our community. We will know, hopefully ahead of time. We'll be able to see, we'll have an early warning system, if you will, of where we may be falling short, and be able to remedy that. But we also want to be able to share that with the community, so that they're not taken by surprise at the end, when oftentimes at the end of a project, there's a percentage that is mentioned, and sometimes that percentage can take people by surprise. But the process that we're hoping with the construction inclusion team is that there is constant and consistent communication, so everybody is aware and we can all row in the same direction. We all want to be successful. I know that the community organizations that we've spoken to, the individuals that we've spoken to, are all wishing for success on this project, and so we're looking forward to working with everybody to make it as successful as project. Are there barriers? Are there challenges? Indeed, but we think that there's major opportunity here, and so we are open to hearing the suggestions and moving forward in that way.
Well, and Commissioners, one of the things I would also just like to add is that the document, as my colleague has described it, is attempting to be as creative as possible, because as you know, at the county, unlike the city, we're precluded from the advice from our friends in the prosecutor's office from having a goal. We unlike the city, who can say we're going to have 8%, 10%, 15%, we are legally prohibited from doing so. So we need to be as creative as we possibly can to have as much engaged outreach as we can to track those numbers, but make sure that from, as we continue to receive advice from our prosecuting attorney's office, that we're being as creative as we can up to the line that we're able to do so, and that's what this plan is intending to do, track those numbers and be as engaged as we possibly can throughout the process. But I just wanted to highlight that because the county is in a different situation than other governmental entities, and I think sometimes that isn't always as upfront as it is in other communities.
I think that's important to note, and I think this document does do what we intend it to do, and I like the tracking and accountability and the ability to make changes along the way. I'm really happy about that.
Well, and one of the reasons that we so much wanted to do this was because we are limited. We have been limited over the years. We've created quality contracting standards years ago. We were limited in our ability to be able to put targeted goals within those standards. Those standards are regarded as the best standards in the state of Ohio. They're different than what we're trying to accomplish here. The goals in those are different than what we're trying to do here. This is a result of our inability to be able to put goals in those documents. But I would say, as a county, while we can't do what the city can do and what cities can do across the state, as a county, I'd match what we do and what our numbers have been and what our results have been in this area with any county in the state of Ohio. And I'd gladly do that. But that said, we can always do more. We've had those conversations since day one. We've said we want to be able to do more. We strive to do more. It was the reason that we decided that we wanted to do this to start with. So glad this day has come.
Commissioner, can I add one more thing to, well, I think we've also taken additional steps outside of this particular process where, we've hired a person full-time to help us think through and manage overall as a county what we're doing in this area. We're working on the establishment of a committee called the Small and Emerging Business Advisory Council, something like that, that is going to be charged with taking the deeper dive over the longer haul. And I think those two things are examples of how our commitment to this conversation. And I know I'm the new guy, and I can tell those of you who are with us today, I can tell you my colleagues are very much committed to this process and this conversation, long before I got here even. And the conversations we had now have been very much full force forward. And I feel very good about the direction we're headed. And I think it's what you said, Commissioner. This is not a finished or perfect process, but it's a very strong start. Our track record is good, but it's going to get better. And so while I know there are some folks that are here to speak, and I've gotten some feedback from them where they are, and we take that very seriously. And it will be a part of our conversation as we go forward, and we will figure this out. It is not a simple solution because of the constraints that we have to adhere to, but we are committed to figuring it out, and that's the most important ingredient to me. So,
Commissioners, Kenneth Wilson, Administrator, I just want to add a few points. I think in the very beginning, Ms. Keena Smith made a very important point. This provides a framework, and you always start a process somewhere. This provides a framework, and following your guidance, we will be able to, for the first time, take this effort to collect data. And with data, it breeds accountability and the ability to react as we see the project proceed forward. I will tell you now that this administration, through the actions that Commissioner Boyce has outlined, is committed to doing better than prior projects. And I think that's demonstrated through your actions today by having this inclusion plan up for consideration. It is a plan. It is not, you can craft the best plan, but if the intent is not there, it sits on a shelf.
That's right.
We're intent as an administration to move forward today to do better, to look at ways to be innovative within the law, above all, and doing things the right way and living within the guidelines that are set for counties in Ohio Revised Code. But we are committed to doing better because we have many resolutions that we consider, and we realize that in this community, the bar is at different levels. We talk about poverty, we talk about income and disparities within this community. Documents such as this gives us tools to be able to look at policies to increase opportunities within the community. So this is a framework. It gives us something to build upon, gives us something to go out in the community and receive feedback. But again, the intent is clear that as we construct the correction center and the forensic center, that we make every effort to do better, to be a trailblazer as far as increasing economic opportunity for underrepresented groups within Franklin County.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that, Ken. Very important.
Well, we have some folks here that are interested in speaking. I am going to call on them in the order that they were clocked in, although one was not clocked in, so that person will go last. First, we have Terrell Mock from the Michael Workforce Development Board.
How you doing?
You want to come up and speak at the microphone here? And if you'd introduce yourself and your organization, that'd be great.
Good morning.
Terrell Mock, Executive Director of Michael Workforce Development, and we train underutilized and hard to serve people in the urban community. Thank you for actually bringing up the plan in general. Framework is great. I understand you're working with good faith. Good faith is different than goals. We at our level, which is the groundwork, we understand that. We've been through that enough times. But saying with the inclusion frame, I would like, even though you're going to approve it, or you may approve it today, I would have liked to had a little bit more conversation at our level, or been at the tables to understand. I'm not against it, I'm not for it. I just wanted to see if there could be more time for us to have a little bit more understanding with the other people that were at the table from our level, because I didn't hear anybody say we're going to do it after the fact. But I like to know what's going on before the fact with 30 years of doing this. And a lot of success rates. You know, I've got 80% success rate at getting people. I just wanted to know exactly how they do it. Sounds like everybody's intent. There's no doubt whatsoever the intent is for us to make sure our local people within our neighborhood get work. But a lot of times it just doesn't happen. I just need more information before I think that this conclusion plan need to go. I just need more information. That's it.
Thank you.
Next, we have Nana Watson from the NAACP.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm just going to be right to the point. We're asking, the NAACP is requesting that you not vote on this today. It is our opinion that when you begin to address community issues and how we're going to engage, the community needs to have input prior to, not afterwards. So I'm asking that you not vote on this until you have had conversations with community people that are going to be a part of this. Disappointed that we did not see the inclusion and diversity plan prior to today. We have had numerous meetings with county administrator and deputy administrator, and we were saddened to learn that this was on the agenda before any discussion was had with the NAACP. We've met about the memorandum of understanding. We do not endorse that either. So I'm requesting that a no vote, and we welcome the opportunity to meet with you and to go further and further dive into your diversity and inclusion plan. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. And next we have Al Washington.
Al Washington. I'm with an organization called the Coalition of Organizations. Acronym is COCO. Look at me, you'll understand COCO. By way of background, I've done a little leap of opportunity. Mr. Boyce and I were funeral together. We worked with a very good friend of ours, the former mayor of the city of Toledo. I've been the state EEO coordinator, special consultant to the United States Conference of Mayors, National League of Cities, chairman of the Dayton Hometown Plan, worked with Dorothy Cates up here back in the 70s. Been around a little while. This gray hair is not premature, okay? I've worked with various community organizations here, COCO, broad umbrella. Allows community organizations to come in. Don't have to be a member, just this is a coalition. Come in where the interests are the same, you come under that. Know a lot about the affirmative action process. This activity that I see does not comport with that which I consider sound. Work with NAACPs and urban leagues across this country. Fortunately, I've been able to work with Stephanie Hightower and Watson here. Worked with Mr. Mock for a number of years. And again, no formal relationships. But I've worked with the city of Columbus. Columbus got in trouble a few years ago when they wanted to build the Models Neighborhood Center. HUD wouldn't give them the money because they didn't have a Section 3 plan. They talked to HUD. HUD said there's a guy that they knew may be able to help with it. And they ended up doing the plan for the models, that building. Worked with Jerry Hammond, first minority participation. Wait a minute, under whatever that law was. to do minority participation at the airport before the airport was its own authority, and worked under, Jerry chaired the airport committee. Ended up with a little note in my back pocket saying that this guy is my representative. We were able to secure significant minority participation at the airport. So Columbus is kind of my other home. Okay? And when I was a state EO coordinator, I'd go home on the weekends, and I lived here during the week. Something's missing right now. And I'm always concerned when the affected population is engaged during the process or after the process. They should be lead. Those folks who affect, they need to tell you what the pain is so that you can react in an appropriate fashion. But I'm always troubled by that language where we talk about inclusion, but you don't get included till after other folks have defined what inclusion means. If I had to make a recommendation, if I were talking to C.J. McLean and James H. McGee and all of those folks that I used to have to talk to back in the day, they would ask Al, what would you recommend that we do? I would recommend Jim McGee. Mr. Mayor, my recommendation would be that we table this till we engage the proper parties and look at the process. We're saying this is a plan. And we should have measurable outcomes. At the end of a plan or a program. We're talking about designing a process to develop measurable outcomes. Something's not quite right here. And I would urge that you table the matter, significantly engage affected populations as a part of the development of, I've heard the terms used interchangeably, the plan or the plan or the program. That would be my recommendation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Give the deputy a chance to respond.
I think that the process that Mr. Washington talks about, I think that there's an opportunity moving forward to have those conversations as far as gathering a bit more input on exactly what our activities are, and we had already always planned it that way. Again, this document is a framework. It is holding us accountable to do exactly what was mentioned in the comments. As I think I mentioned earlier, we intend to have a stakeholder meeting in just a couple of weeks to talk about activities around increasing the labor participation. That is something that was always mentioned in all of the conversations that we had, that we needed to ensure that we were tracking and monitoring, and this plan does that, and with the additional support of the software. So I believe that I believe that what we have today before you as that framework, as that accountability document, especially pertaining to our own activity and the activity of our partners, is there and in a robust way in this document. And I think that everybody at the end of the day will be satisfied with our process. I respect our speakers tremendously and appreciate that they would take the time to come down here on a Tuesday morning to share their thoughts and their reactions to what we have put together. Their comments in the past have informed this plan. So we feel that we are on the right track in the way that we are proceeding.
Thank you, Keena.
Commissioners, Kenneth Wilson, County Administrator. I have a few thoughts as we proceed. I have some sincere concerns about what a tabling and what a delay would mean. This is a framework, as has been noted a number of times. This is not the end of the story, it's the beginning as we try to work on these projects. So I just have sincere concerns about what a tabling would mean. A tabling would mean an inaction towards moving towards the goals of ensuring that this project is inclusive. This project has been moving forward every day, both projects, meaning the Corrections Center and the Forensic Center. I'm always open and believe in an open process. But if I just haven't seen anything that has been pointed out where there is harm to the community in moving forward with a plan that provides the legal framework of expressing our intent. At the end of this month, as Deputy Administrator Keena Smith pointed out, we have a meeting which we are going to talk about the mechanics and what receiving feedback from the experts in the community as to what needs to be done on the ground to ensure that this project is inclusive of underrepresented individuals, and how we go about ensuring that we reach new heights as far as the number of individuals employed on both of these work sites that live within Franklin County and within the city of Columbus. I really have concerns about what a tabling would mean. I guess I would really hate to leave here today with the thought that we are going to table taking action and expressing an intent in the pursuit of what? I guess that leaves a question mark for me. I have complete confidence that my staff has done everything they can, Deputy Administrator Smith and Long, to bring forward to you today a plan that meets your policy goals, yet is within the legal framework that counties are allowed to be able to operate. I know we've said this more than one time. Our intent is to be inclusive. I would be more open to a tabling and what could happen if this was a plan that was very prescriptive in nature and that it could cause some harm or not meet the goals that we have. I just really want this community to have confidence in this administration first and foremost, and give us the opportunity to move forward. This plan is a framework. It expressed an intent to reach heights that haven't been reached as far as inclusiveness, as far as however the percentage of increase is. I know that this board and this administration is dedicated to both of these projects reaching new heights to that extent.
I don't think there's any doubt that this board is dedicated to the goals, well, the non-goals of achieving inclusion. I do have a concern and wonder what would it hurt to table for a week. I am concerned about the comments that were raised by the speakers, and I know there's been so much work done on this, but I do have a concern about what was raised, that people didn't get a chance to see this before today. And with NACO coming up this week, I know we're not going to have a lot of time to deal with it, but would it actually hurt us to table it today for 1 week and get back to it next week and let us have the conversations that we may need to have to get more comfortable? I feel just a little uncomfortable with where we are.
And I would just say it too, if you don't mind. I would just say it that, you know, we've had 3 very respected members of the community come and speak today, very well known. This topic is a topic that they're very well versed in, and it would be difficult for us to not listen to that as part of our process to make complete. Now, I also have the confidence in our administrative staff, the deputy administrator and the administrator, and the work they've done. I've looked at the plan, I've seen the work, I know their commitment, and I think we are onto something. I think that we are headed in the right direction, and if we were voting today, I would be voting in support of moving forward. That being said, though, I just can't. You know, I agree with Commissioner Brown and O'Grady that I mean, from Al to Terrell to Nana, I mean, these are very highly respected individuals in this subject matter specifically. And so I would like their input. Whether we agree at the end of the day is another thing.
Then
But
we may or may not.
we may or may not. But I think a week, to your point, Commissioner, I think a week is not a deal breaker. That being said, though, as we move forward, the jail is moving forward. We've got lots of other projects queued up, and we are going to be moving forward. But to take a week, I think, is a reasonable.
What we were talking about up here is we're going to be busy this week because of NACO. We're all going to be, you know, going crazy because we have commissioners in from all over the country. But we need to hear from you guys. We need to hear. And so if we could this week hear from Nana and Al and Terrell, that would be huge. And if we could bring this back next Tuesday morning, it was made clear, you know, just because we have 2,000 commissioners coming into town this week doesn't mean next Tuesday morning we're not going to be here, even though they leave late Monday night. We're still going to be here next Tuesday morning. So if we can table this till next Tuesday morning.
I would like to table it for a week.
I think, Commissioners, Kenneth Wilson, Administrator, I think that tabling this for 1 week, using the word harm again, would not cause harm. But I must say, there must be a dedication to providing constructive feedback. If there's a way to improve this plan in 1 week, we need folks to communicate in good faith, because to not move on this would, in my opinion, again, have grave consequences on the community at large as we sit and we see the impact of gridlock, and I don't want that to be something that this administration is known for.
I want to say I'm committed to moving on it next Tuesday.
Me too.
I just want to hear what the community has to say. I'm committed. I believe in this document. I believe in where we are headed with this. I believe in the intent that we, you know, in our interest in moving this thing forward. I just want to hear from the community, you know. So I want to know what Nana and Terrell and Al have to say, and I want to hear from folks.
I was fully prepared to vote on this today until I heard the compelling words that I heard. I know the work that's been done on this has been outstanding. And I know the compelling words that were said caused me to want to table it for a week with fully intending to vote on
Let's table it
next
till next
Tuesday.
But again,
So my motion is to table it for 1 week.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting, Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Resolution number 510-17 has been tabled for 1 week.
Excellent. Any other business?
One journal.
One journalization, okay.
This is from the city of New Albany, in an effort to create 4 residential tax increment financing incentive districts. Estimated true value of $90 million. Percentage of the improvements to be 100%, and they look to adopt a TIF ordinance on September 19th, 2017, if not earlier.
Wow. Wow.
Wonder what they're doing. All right. Well, we will see everybody next Tuesday morning, the 25th.
Invite them to the conference.
Yeah, come to the NACO conference. Say hello to county commissioners from all over the country.
Come
Thanks.
to the Metropolitan Club tomorrow.
Yeah, Metropolitan Club tomorrow for.
Yeah, I'm trying to make that. I'm gonna try to. I gotta run to Akron today.